Hey everybody, and welcome to the Plant Stock channel. You are here with me and Mayur talking about Beyond Meat. If there's any hope, considering all the negativity we've seen with the company now for quite some time, and some interesting articles coming out there too. So we felt like it would be reasonable to, do a little more focus video on this company. So Mayur, how are you doing, man?
Hey, how are you? Good.
I'm good. I'm good. So basically, first of all, as always, guys, to disclose, this is not financial advice. What we're talking about, just two friends talking about companies we're interested in. So just keep that in mind, and always do your own due diligence. That's super important, especially in today's market. But if we then begin, yeah, we talked about that we have some real concerns regarding Beyond Meat, right? But what we've seen so far, we talked about it now the other day, you and me. Um, Kind of like, when will they actually reach price parity? They're talking about 2024, but how will they actually manage to do that? Because we haven't really gotten any details. And also we're thinking about when it comes to their facilities, when you compare the discussions you hear about it compared to Oatly and the management there, it's not very clear cut, is it? And so if we start off there, maybe to begin with.
Yeah, I like how Oatly, lays out their entire global network of factories. And they look at, where the not just the existing factories are, but also the planned future factories.
Yeah.
And they even break down their revenue and operating profitability down to EBITDA, by region, which is great to see that. So that makes their claims of reaching, say, 20% adjusted EBITDA margins very believable, because you can see clearly that right now they are not at 20%, but they're at least positive EBITDA in Europe,
Yeah.
right? So that's a very, very good sort of roadmap, or at least benchmark, that says that, okay, as long as they can replicate the success of their European factories elsewhere, it's not a very hard thing to believe that they can reach, profitability elsewhere as well.
So they already basically have proof of concept there.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
have the proof of concept, right?
So
But we don't see that with Beyond Meat. Now, I'm not necessarily demanding Beyond Meat, divulge all of that information, but I like how Oatly, lays out exactly how they plan on reaching these margins. They already said that they're, working on reducing co-manufacturing, and they're talking about how, their factories in Ogden and New Jersey just simply weren't able to get up to speed quick enough. But those are all short-term pains that, revolve around every new factory launch. So it's not a big deal that, okay, maybe a quarter or two delay, fine. But we haven't gotten that type of discussion from Beyond Meat yet, right? We have like that launch of the R&D facility in Shanghai. They also have a manufacturing, not in Shanghai, but not too far from Shanghai. China seems like a massive market, right? As basically the world's largest meat consumer.
yeah.
And that's a huge market opportunity, but Beyond Meat doesn't really talk much about China.
Yeah, that is the weird thing. I don't remember them almost mentioning them at all. What's going on now in the Q4 report, which was very strange. And like you said, when it comes to pork, especially, they're like super huge pork eaters, and they have Beyond have their pork equivalent, right? So it would be really interesting to hear how that is going. And every article I've read about China is that even their younger populations are getting more interested in plant-based food and caring about sustainability and their health and the animals like everyone else, right? So it's kind of weird that we don't hear then what is going on there. What kind of sales could we expect from China, or what are we seeing there? How big of a percentage are they actually getting from there?
Right, right. Now they do mention that they do break down their revenue by U.S. versus international,
Yeah,
and that part of it has been growing. That's like the one bright spot of their financial results.
yeah,
Like in 2021, international retail jumped by more than double.
yeah,
From 36 million to 81 million. So
yeah,
that's a 123% increase. And international food service was up 40% last year.
But
So
we
those are
actually don't
definitely good
know.
trends.
We don't get a breakdown though, which is in Europe and which is in Asia, right? Which we
Right.
do get from Oatly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, the big concern that I have is that while that growth is very encouraging, that's not going to tell us enough about long-term growth trajectories, because they're starting from a very small base, right? When you go from basically nothing to something, it's going to have a big percentage change, right? And so that's why that 120% growth is not yet fully. I don't see that being confirmed elsewhere,
No.
because if we look at U.S. retail sales, that's down
Yeah.
by 8% year
Yeah.
over year.
Yeah.
So I just don't like that trend right now. You can say that yes, 2020 was kind of an outlier year because there was such a big surge in demand in Q1 and Q2 due to COVID and the
Yeah.
lockdowns. Everybody was stockpiling. So that might be happening a little bit in China right now, because Shanghai has been under lockdown, and other
Yeah.
parts of China too. So they might get a bump in Q1. Who knows, right? So that could be good for the stock. But if it's viewed as sort of a one-time thing, it may not really move the stock price all that much. But what my main concern here is that, um, you don't. We want to make sure that this is not becoming one of these what we call oil well revenue type stories. In the industry, we basically call this oil well revenue, which is, for example, when you own land, right? That's for basically for drilling for oil, right? So an oil company, an oil driller buys a plot of land because they believe that this land has a good amount of oil in it. So they buy the land, they then install the drillers, and they drill for oil.
Yeah.
As soon as they find a well underground, they drill it, they extract it, which is awesome because when you strike oil, that's automatic revenues for the company.
Yeah.
However, every oil is finite in its supply. So when you strike oil, that's great, but it's only going to be good for a short time, because eventually that well is going to dry out, and you have to go out and find another well to continue that growth, right? This is what I'm worried about with Beyond Meat, which is that it looks like they've hit saturation with retail, and the only way for them to continue the growth
Yeah.
is by simply entering new markets and new product categories.
Yeah.
Not
Actually,
to say that that's not good. We should absolutely be doing that. But if your core business segment, which is retail, is declining, it means that you're going to have to constantly make up that, through growth in geographies that you're located in, as well as new product categories, and that's not a good sign for actual growth.
we actually got some indications from that about from Piper Sandler a couple of days ago, right? I have they came out an article, well, several articles actually, and we have some here from the Barron's. Beyond Meat stock has a problem. Teens just aren't all that interested anymore. We get some information about that. Actually, Beyond isn't actually the most popular one, and they're not as interested in plant-based food right now. And also, though, we have here on Twitter, we have Second City, guys. If you haven't been following him, he keeps tweeting a lot of things here regarding Beyond Meat and Oatly. And he found the Piper Sandler report and their charts. And here, if we take a look at the charts here, we can see that the plant-based meat trends now in 2022, we can see the difference here, that 14% of teens consume plant-based meat, while 80% do not. And when they did a survey in 2021, it showed the same thing. So there's been no change there. They're not eating more, they're not eating less. But the problem here is also that we can see that the willingness to try plant-based meat for those who do not consume it, out of the 86% who do not consume plant-based meat, 34% are willing to try it. But in 2021, fall of 2021, the survey was 38% who was willing to try it. So it's actually, the interest is getting lower and lower. And if we have here on the side, we can see they actually made a comparison with Impossible Burger, Beyond Meat, and Morningstar Farms, and some other smaller companies. And it does seem, granted, guys, always keep in mind, this is one survey. It's about 7,000 teens, my understanding is. So it is an indication of something, but it's not the whole truth. So that's like with most research, right? But it seems that Impossible was preferred plant-based meat among 39% consumers with brand preference, and then 32% preferred Beyond, and 22 preferred Morningstar. Right? We have another here. We can just take a look at it here. That shows it clearly here from spring 2021, fall 2021, and spring 2022. So we can see that it's actually dropping somewhat. So, and I think the overall trend seems to be that people are losing interest, and even teens then are actually losing interest in this. But yeah, you
Yeah,
want?
the thing is, I actually don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I actually view this in a positive light, because remember, if you take the total number of people that say that they do have it, plus are willing to try it, right? That's the actual group that we should be looking at. So it's, even though it's just 14% that do consume it right now,
Yeah,
29% said that they are willing to try it. So that's about 43%. That's almost half
yeah,
of all teens today that are willing and open to try plant-based meat. So that's actually a really good sign.
yeah,
Remember, our long-term focus is, if plant-based meats can take even 10% of the total market share of meat, that itself represents, $160 billion valuation, or potential sales. So that is huge, right? And
yeah,
it looks as if Beyond Meat and Impossible, even though Impossible scores slightly better than Beyond Meat, it's very clear that these two companies are pretty much running away with the this entire category.
yeah, exactly.
Morningstar is a distant third.
Yeah,
Um, so even if there is a third player, this is a massive market. This is why it's very, very important to assess, the trifecta, right,
yeah,
is what I always call it for Beyond Meat. And Ethan Brown talks about this all the time. If they can focus all of their, R&D and manufacturing into these three things, right?
yeah,
Taste, nutrition, and cost. If they can master these three things, I see that there is a massive potential
yeah.
for Beyond Meat, and that max potential is far bigger than even Oatly, in my view.
Yeah,
Or
I took the liberty of print screening what you talked about in our Discord, guys. If you want to talk to Mayur or me, join our free Discord. Take a look in the description here. But yeah, taste, nutrition, and cost. That's what you mentioned today. So,
Yeah, exactly. The nutrition part of it, I think, has already been solved. So now it's just a matter of running the clinical research that is, published by an academic journal,
yeah,
and has enough extensive studies, right? And that's what the Stanford University is working on right now. Those results will be out around 2024, but it's going to be the largest, most comprehensive study ever conducted on plant-based meats. So the results of that, I think, will finally lay to rest all of the FUD out there on whether plant-based meats are healthy or not. I think it'll finally solve that, and we can finally move forward from that.
yeah,
Even though there's still going to be lots of people that question it or doubt it, that's just noise at that point. We'll have definitive results
yeah,
in a clinical setting whether this is healthy for you or not.
yeah, exactly.
But that's, all of that is fine. Like, I think those numbers are going to work in Beyond Meat's favor. Um, I'm just very concerned about the trends of retail sales, right? Because teens are still very, very small relative to the total population. That's going to take decades for them to become the majority,
Yeah,
of the world, or even of the US, right? And, companies that are not profitable don't necessarily have decades of time,
no,
right? So, Beyond Meat is nowhere near, profitability. And Ethan Brown has, said that, their OPEX will remain flat year over year. So if they, if they do that, then hopefully there is some evidence that they reduce the cash burn this year. But they really need to flip to profitability soon.
Yeah, it
Um,
was a. I took a look at the numbers again. It was a huge jump when it came to cash burn. It was like in 2020 it was around 57 million, right? And
mhm.
now it's almost 200 million. I think 189 million dollars.
Right.
Uh, so I mean, and I think it was you who actually wrote that on Twitter the other day, and you weren't talking about Beyond Meat, but you were specifically saying that not every company is a Tesla, right? Which means
Hmm.
that not every company should focus on just spending money like crazy and going on debt like crazy.
Yeah.
So maybe taking it step by step and trying to focus on profitability to some extent. Finding
Right.
that balance, right? That you want to go for the top line, but you need to have try to find some balance to getting closer to profitability.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think that's what I think Beyond Meat should be doing, is just to get to at least put us on a path to profitability.
yeah,
So we'll see if we get that this year. With them launching, the jerky product and whatnot. I hope it brings in more revenue than it does expenses.
yeah,
Um, because otherwise it's just, they're trying to do everything and please everyone.
yeah,
And while that's good because we have a goal that's very noble, um, you have to answer to the financial markets,
yeah.
and you don't always have unlimited resources to do this. No.
Exactly. But the interesting thing also to keep in mind is that when it comes to, it's going to be interesting to see how well the beef jerky is doing, right? Because if it is going to be at the 170,000 outlets, I mean, even though that won't bring in that much cash, maybe considering what they cost, and we don't know the margins there, but considering that 170,000 locations, people starting to finding out about the brand, wanting to try their other products, hopefully the reviews I've seen out there seems very good. You tried it. You really liked it too, right?
Yeah, I
Uh,
liked it. Yeah,
yeah.
I've had it 3 times. I've tried all three flavors,
Nice.
so they're good.
Yeah.
Now I don't have any background in jerky, so I couldn't tell you.
No.
But from the reviews, it looks like everybody seems to like it.
Yeah, definitely. And then the thing that we might forget is also that according to Ethan Brown, I mean this was just the first product, and we could expect more products from the PepsiCo deal, the Planet Partnership, right, this year.
Hmm.
So we don't know what to expect, of course. I know a lot of us are hoping for some kind of dairy products there,
Yeah.
because they have been talking about beverages. So there could be a things to could turn it around quite quickly depending on the
Hmm.
situation. And because right now it does seem that they do have a lot of facilities, right? They could use scalability in a good way, but they're not really using all of it, all of the capacity, right? So, so
Yeah.
hmm,
And like I don't know if you guys saw, but I posted this in our Discord channel. But I did like go through and see, since Beyond Meat doesn't create their own sort of map or talk about their facilities.
ah,
I just took the liberty to create my own map for
yeah.
Beyond Meat. So that's on Google Maps now. I think I made it public so anyone can look at it.
Let's
But
see.
there's some pretty cool tidbits from their annual report regarding these facilities. I wish they talked about them more.
Yeah,
But the latest one is what they call their commercialization center. It's located in a town called Commerce in California.
yeah,
And this is where all of their new markets are going to be launched from. Their new products, I should say. So at this facility, they basically, manufacture their woven proteins and dry blends
yeah,
and finished goods. So they do all three. The problem with some of their facilities, like the one in the Netherlands that they have, is they only make the inputs, so such as the woven proteins and the dry blends,
yeah.
but then they outsource, finishing the manufacturing to other manufacturers.
Exactly. I'm
So
showing
they
them now.
rely on co-manufacturing to do that.
Yeah, I'm showing them here that that you actually did put in the Beyond group in our Discord, and here you have the whole Google thing that you put together: El Segundo, Shanghai, Enschede, Yangjing, Devalt. Columbia, in Missouri, and Commerce. So really good, guys. Come in and take a look at that. You must have spent a lot of time on that.
Not, I mean, it's all in the 10K. So it's
Yeah,
just I just literally took it and then just tried to find it on the map
yeah,
and just extracted whatever tidbits I thought were interesting.
amazing.
So this is why that commerce facility is interesting because that's where they can do end-to-end production.
Yeah,
Remember, the problem with Beyond Meat's margins is that they still rely on co-manufacturing a little too much, and that's why their margins have really taken a hit.
yeah,
But their commerce facility does end-to-end production, so that is expected. And they wrote some interesting things there. They actually wrote, um, it's expected to improve speed to market for new products, reduce overall network costs by freeing up production lines from trials, and improve collaboration of technical resources.
yeah.
And the design and construction work is underway. The estimated completion is sometime this year,
Yeah,
2022.
amazing.
So yeah, I think these are all like things that I think are bullish for the company because I know that they want to move away from co-manufacturing,
Yeah,
right? So if they do that and if they have enough scale, then they can reach much better gross margins than where they're at right now.
yeah,
But to do that, they need to have scale. They need to get this their core business segment back up, which
yeah,
is retail sales. And the fact that retail sales were down 20% in Q4, it's just not good.
no.
We really can't see that. At the very least, it should be flat, but not heading south, right?
We're probably going to talk about that in another video, or I might make an article video about that soon. It is, I think, it is Morningstar's own researchers basically saying that 2020, when with the pandemic and everything, that was a special year, right? When retail actually did go really well because people didn't go out and eating. So obviously, those numbers went up really fast and really high, which means that when you then compare it to a normal less pandemic year of 2021, obviously the numbers are going to look quite bad in
Yeah,
comparison. So it's and the question is also with the Piper Sandler research, they also mentioned in that research that this could be with the teens and everything, it could be a blip. We don't know. It's too early to say, and we do
yeah,
have to have way more research than just one article like that.
right. I mean, I still take that as a positive. Like, I don't like I can see why it can be viewed negatively because the trend was heading down, but I don't think it's necessarily a big thing.
No.
Like it's just down from 40% to 34%, and
Yeah.
that's not a big change. The big takeaway for me is that 43% of all teens are willing and open to try plant-based meat.
Yeah.
And remember, we don't need to convince the world to quit meat by 100%.
No.
If everybody has plant-based meat once a week, right, that itself is $160 billion revenue potential for the industry, right? Just 10% of the total global meat revenue
Yeah.
that is generated. So, and that would happen if we, again, achieve the trifecta of taste, nutrition, and cost.
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
think Impossible and Beyond Meat they're the R&D leaders
Yeah.
when it comes to plant-based meat. And they're also the manufacturing leaders because no one else can do what they do, right? There are many other players, but no one has the output that Beyond Meat and Impossible do.
Yeah. Exactly.
So this is a massive industry, and I think there could be 3 to 5 winners. Remember, there's only about 4 or 5 companies dominate the global meat industry. By the way,
Mm.
right? There's JBS, there's Tyson here in the U.S. There's just a few of them. There's not a lot,
Yeah. JBS is
and I
the
think
largest one in the world from Brazil, right?
yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't take a lot. And I think, if there's even 5 players that win in the plant-based meat world, that share $160 billion of revenue, that's, multiples higher than where we're at right now
Exactly.
for both Beyond Meat, Impossible, and everyone. And that's a win for everybody. It's a win for the planet. It's a win for the mission,
Yeah.
right? Which is to reduce our dependence on animal agriculture.
Exactly. So, and let's not forget also, I think, I mean, already now when it comes to taste, anyways, the 3.0 is much better taste. It's taken away that kind of side smell that they had before. And also the 4.0 is supposed to come now this year. And I've heard actually in the Discord people mentioning that it seems to be already out. So in some areas in the US.
Yeah, I'd love to
Yeah.
try that. I don't
Yeah.
know how they market. I remember when the 3.0 came out, they actually put a label on it that says new meteor taste.
Yeah.
And that's how you know that was Beyond 3.0.
Yeah. It's actually a new
But I'm not
package
sure.
now. The 4.0 it seems to be a totally new package.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. So
No. So it's probably going to
yeah.
take time before they scale that and get that out everywhere. So, but we'll
Yeah.
definitely report on that.
Hmm.
All right, guys. But this was basically it for today. And as always, if you want to find Mayur, find him on Twitter, where he's very, very active. And also find him in our Discord channel, which is free. Take a look down in the description, guys. And he usually talks about Beyond Meat and Oatly. That's his main focus. But I've seen him now moving around Tattooed Chef and a Very Good Food Company as well. So, and I'm going to try to convince him also to soon take a look at Baby F, Else Nutrition, plant-based baby formula. That is actually quite interesting. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
I love to
But
try. I actually give my toddler Ripple milk. So Ripple is. Do you guys have that in Sweden? Ripple.
no, no,
Okay.
not what I know.
They're based on pea protein. It's a pea protein milk,
Nice.
and they make one for kids.
Yeah.
So I've been giving my toddler that. Um,
And how's he doing?
he's 20 months old, but he's already having out of now he's not. I'm not raising him as a pure vegan, but
Mm,
he's definitely going to be vegetarian.
yeah.
So we do feed him regular dairy milk. But my negotiating with my wife at least led us to, convert one of his 3 bottles of milk every day to
Yeah.
be plant based.
Yeah. You have to
So
compromise. It's important.
yeah, so
All right.
yeah.
All right. Thanks for today, Mayur. And thanks, guys, for joining us. And we'll probably be out with something soon. And we're at least this week, we might be more than one, but we're going to take a look at what's it called? Invita?
Invite.
Invite. We're going to talk
Yes.
about that probably now on Friday, I think. Another company. I thought it'd be interesting just to move into other aspects that actually do good for the planet or for people in general. All right, guys. Thanks for today. Peace
All right.
out.
See ya.